trip of 2,000 miles in 1843 from Independence, Missouri to Oregon City wasn't just a normal road trip. It was a game of life or death. They traveled slow, picked up the pace a bit, to go fast and steady. Food was full to kind of scarce, back to meager again, back to full, and went as a cycle until they made it to Oregon City in Oregon.
Full name is Jeffrey Rowich, but I go by Jeff. Whenever anybody said they wanted to hunt, the computer would print out something that said something like type bang, which of course would be the sound of a shotgun going off.
The riskier you were, the more rewards you got. That wasn't always true, but I think that was kind of the case. But it was, what's the word I want? It was like smart risk, I guess, not like just random, like I'm gonna throw myself in the river and hope I get across, but it was risk that you had to think through. So usually calculated risk, there's the word I was looking for, calculated risk. Well, I would assume that there's some sort of data now, maybe not from Oregon Trail era, but from now about how often things happen. So you could use like ratios of how often things like that happen to change up the game to make it, like you said, if I do this, it's most likely that this will happen, kind of thing.
So when this all started, he and two of his friends named Bill Heineman and Paul Dillenberger were the ones who put together the very first version of the game. So they just put in as much as they could because they really only had a week or a week and a half to put the first version together before my father wanted to use it in his student teaching classroom. The very first version was text-based. There were no screens on computer systems back in 1971 when this took place. All you got from the computer system was a printout on what looked like an electric typewriter. It's called a teletype machine. And so everything was text-based. So what they did was put together just text descriptions of events that might happen to somebody out on the trail. And also the computer could keep track of supplies via numbers. So how many pounds of food, how many sets of clothing, how many wagon wheels did you have? Those kinds of things. A lot of more research as the game evolved in the next few years, from the late 70s into the early 80s. A lot more research from actual diaries of people who traveled the Oregon Trail. And he went through and figured out, well, what was the chance that you'd get caught in a blizzard depending on where you were, based on what the actual pioneers had reported and sent word back to their homes in the Midwest. And so he did a lot of that kind of calculating, and they put that information into the kind of future text-based versions of the game.
The limited rations to crossing the river, having to just chance it and cross, or pay a ferry to cross. Traveling at different paces, sometimes going fast and getting farther, but the consequences for it are not great. Lost food because you forgot to hunt because you were moving fast, but not everything has to be fast. Slowing down because you are in poor health and exhausted, or if you really wanted to take your time, even though a lot of people take a steady pace and make things last.
This all really started because my father wanted to come up with creative, engaging ways to teach his students about the westward expansion. And so if I was to tell him that one of the things that's happening in La Crosse is that students are creating mini documentaries as an engaging way to interact with the world and learn about it, I think he would say that is one of the most important legacies of what he would have hoped to bring to teaching had he pursued that path in the end.
It was hard and it was difficult to travel from Missouri to Oregon.
I will say it definitely was worth it.
The scenery was amazing and I learned a lot along the way.